Hello everybody, myself Shweta. I have a PG degree in chemistry from VIT University. In addition to that, I have BI degree in biological sciences. I have qualified Central Teachers Eligibility Test Examination. Previously, I worked as a chemistry lecturer in an engineering college. Currently, I'm a homemaker and taking care of my two children, also conducting home tuitions offline for school students. As I understand, going forward, virtual mode of learning would be more beneficial for teachers as well as students than physical mode of learning. So I would prefer online teaching. In this session, we'll see the topic force and pressure, which is taken from grade 8 ICSE syllabus. So what is force? Push or pull acting on a body is called force. Example, pushing the door, pulling the door, kicking, etc. Here in this example, the person is pushing the door to open it, and again he is pulling the door back to close the door, which is an example for force. Exploring forces. There are two types of forces to be applied, one in the same direction and another in opposite direction. Here two people are pushing the box in the same direction, so the net force will be the sum of magnitude of both the forces. What is magnitude? So magnitude is nothing but the measurement of strength and the amount of force applied. Here, if you see, one person applies a force of 5 newtons and another person 5 newtons, finally the resultant magnitude will be 10 newtons. That the net force is equal to 10 newtons. So next is opposite direction. As you can see in the famous Squid Game web series, if two persons are pulling the rope from opposite sides, so the net force, the magnitude will be 0 and finally the net force will be 0. Effective forces. The forces are effective on two types of objects, that is object which is at rest, that is they do not move, and the object which is in motion, that is moving objects. Example, the books kept in the shelf are in the state of rest, so they do not move. And the example for moving objects are the moving traffic vehicles. They are moving from one side to another side. They are examples for the objects which are in motion. Forces can change the shape of an object. A potter uses hand force to make a pot. So he uses his hand force to make that pot into a correct shape. Next we'll see the types of forces, that is contact force and non-contact force. So what is contact force? The force that comes into action after the interaction between the objects. Here, when the object comes in contact with the force, then only it moves. Example, when we kick a ball which is in rest, it moves fast. This is an example for contact force. So types of contact forces, muscular force and friction force. So we'll see what is friction, muscular force. So muscular force is nothing but the force applied by using muscles like arms or legs. And friction force, a force which resists the motion of any two surfaces which are in contact with each other. So example of muscular force is that person lifting the weight with the help of his muscles. And frictional force arises between surface of any two objects, so they always act on moving forces in opposite direction. So here example is football game. The friction force acts on moving ball and makes the ball to come into rest. So next we'll see what are non-contact forces. Here the objects will not be in contact with each other, but still the force exists. This is called non-contact force. Types of non-contact forces: magnetic force, electrostatic force and gravitational force. So let's see what is magnetic force. So forces which are exerted by the magnet to move the objects is called magnetic force. So examples include the coins which are attracted towards magnet with the help of magnetic force, even though they are not in contact with each other, but still the coins are attracted toward magnet with the help of magnetic force. Next is electrostatic force. So when a charged body exerts force on another charged or uncharged body, that is called electrostatic force. Here in this video you can see the like charges repel each other, that is move away from each other, and unlike charges attract each other. And finally, gravitational force. Force exerted on the object by the gravity of the earth is called as gravitational force. Here when a person throws stick into the air, it falls again on the earth. Next topic is pressure. So what is pressure? Pressure is defined as the force acting per unit area of a surface, which is known as pressure. So example, you can see in the video the water pressure exerted on the floor for cleaning the surface. So pressure exerted by liquid and gas. So pressure exerted by gas. When balloon is applied with pressure, the gas fills inside the balloon. It starts inflating from all the sides. Next is atmospheric pressure. So pressure exerted by the air surrounding us is known as atmospheric pressure. So example is the car tires. Since it is filled with air, the pressure exerted by air in car tires supports weight of car and makes it move freely. And finally, the factors affecting pressure. So what are the factors affecting pressure? Temperature, altitude or elevation, moisture. So the temperature present in the air affects the pressure. And secondly, the altitude, that is height, also affects pressure. And finally, the moisture present in the surroundings also affects the pressure. Next topic we are going to discuss is microorganisms, which is taken from chapter 2 of grade 8 CBSE science. So what are microorganisms? So the microorganisms or microbes are very minute organisms. These cannot be seen through the naked eye. So the examples include algae, fungi, bacteria, etc. So these microorganisms may be helpful or harmful to the humankind. We see the types of bacteria. So this spiral bacteria and rod-shaped bacteria, as you can see in the picture. So these are the different types of bacteria. So these are the types of algae, the Chlamydomonas and Spirovera. Examples for algae. And this is the example for parasites, that is amoeba and paramecium. The examples for parasites. And here in this slide you can see the types of fungi, that is bread molds, penicillium and aspergillus. So the viruses are also different shapes. Examples include smallpox, chickenpox virus. So where does these microorganisms live? Microorganisms generally they are single-celled or multicellular. So single-celled organisms includes bacteria, algae and protozoa, and multicellular organisms are algae and fungi. So these microorganisms can survive under all types of environment, ranging from ice cold climate to hot springs, and even they can survive in deserts and to marshy lands. So these microorganisms are found evenly inside the bodies of animals and human beings also. So they even grow on other organisms and exist freely in the nature. So we'll see friendly microorganisms, that is the microorganisms which are used for various purposes. So they are used for the preparation of curd, bread and cake. So these microorganisms are also used for cleaning up of the environment. So the organic waste, vegetable peels and remains of animals, fecals, etc. are broken down into harmless and usable substances by bacteria. So some of the bacteria are useful for the preparation of medicines, and Some bacteria, example rhizobium, helps in nitrogen fixation of the soil. So we'll see how to make curd. So what we do, so we'll take a little curd and add to the milk. So what happens? So in the milk, the lactobacillus bacteria grows and helps in the fermentation process and helps curd is prepared from the milk. So even some of the bacteria are used in making of cheese, pickles, and even some other food items. So we'll see how to make bread. So in the bread preparation, yeast is added. So yeast is a fungi which is helps in the fermentation process, and bread is prepared from that. So commercial use of microorganisms. Microorganisms are used for the large scale production of alcohol, wine, and acetic acid, which is nothing but vinegar. So yeast is used for commercial production of alcohol and wine, and yeast is grown on natural sugars. So they grow natural sugars like wheat, rice, etc. So what happens in the distilleries or industries, microorganisms are used for the fermentation processes. The process of conversion of sugar into alcohol is nothing but fermentation. So for this purpose, microorganisms are used. So medicinal use of microorganisms. So whenever we get disease, we go to doctor. So they prescribe antibiotics. So what are the use of antibiotics? They either kill or stop the growth of the disease-causing microorganisms. Such medicines are called antibiotics, and these antibiotics are prepared from bacteria and fungi. So the examples include streptomycin, tetracycline, and erythromycin. So these microorganisms helpful for the preparation of antibiotics in the medicinal industry. Some of the antibiotics are prepared from the specific microorganisms. So they are prepared from the livestock and poultry to check microbial infection in animals. They are also used to control many plant diseases, and so in this process the microorganisms are used to prepare those antibiotics. So here you can see the famous scientist Alexander Fleming. He is the inventor of penicillin, a famous antibiotic, and very useful antibiotic which is prepared from the bacteria. Hope my session is helpful and you like this session. Thank you.